Welcome to Certainty for Uncertain Times. My name is Lauren, and if you have been here for a bit, welcome on back. If you are new, I'm so glad that you clicked on this video today. My entire goal in creating this YouTube channel is simply to help all of us make a little bit of sense out of the uncertainty and the chaos that is our clown world that we are living in. And on top of that, just helping people to get that we are watching Bible prophecy come to life in such a crazy fast way. And Jesus is on his way soon, and people can deny that all they want to, but they're about to find out very soon, if they are denying it, that they were very wrong. So with that said, let's get into this week's edition of the weekly wrap up. All right, so before we dive into any headlines today, and fair warning, I'm talking a lot about the red heifer today and that situation going on in Israel. But before we dive in, I just want to give you a couple of reminders. The first thing is, if you love these videos, if they are helping you, encouraging you, whatever it is, hit that like button. I mean, smash it hard, because here's the thing. Every like, every comment, and every share tells YouTube that you find this valuable and they should show it to more people. So I'm definitely asking that you do that. Second to that, if you want to see more about what's going on in my life, the things that I rant about, which is pretty frequently on social media, I am very, very, very active on Instagram. That is my main platform, while I have TikTok, Rumble, all the networks. Instagram is probably my most active network, so definitely go follow me there. It's the same handle as this channel, Certainty for Uncertain Times. And then, of course, if you do want more exclusive content, which is the stuff that I'm calling too hot for TV because it's the stuff that gets me censored, you can find me on Patreon at Certainty for Uncertain Times. And all the links for that stuff is down in the description box below. Would love to have you in that community. I'm constantly putting together content to help people learn about some of the deep stuff, and some of it is dark. I hate to say it, but it is. Some of the deep stuff and some of the dark stuff that's going on that a lot of people don't know, because it can't be talked about without us getting our traps shut. So anyway, all of that to say, I want to jump into today's weekly wrap up, and I've got some news stories for you. It's been a bang up week so far. I'm filming this on Friday afternoon. I had the intention of doing it yesterday. I try to film on Thursdays, but it doesn't always work out. And the thing that I put a poll out on Instagram this week, and I was like, guys, there's so much stuff going on with the red heifers, and mainly because I follow the Temple Institute, which we're going to talk about as we kind of dive into this video. But I was mentioning to everyone, I mean, there's been so much going on, but I think the majority of the focus, I wanted to kind of drift towards the red heifers and what's coming. And everyone was like, yes, let's talk about it. So that's going to be the majority of what we're talking about today. Now, I don't think any of this is necessarily new information. If you've been following the red heifer journey since, what is that, 2021, 2022, my time all runs together, especially now. Since 2020, I don't really keep track of time anymore, because it just all feels like one giant Groundhog Day. But in saying that, I think what we're seeing is that Israel's getting real serious over there about this whole shindig going on with the red heifers. And we've known that. The Bible is very clear about what has to happen. And then, of course, if you know anything about Jewish culture, what the rabbis believe, what the Mishnah talks about, any of that, then you kind of understand already what the significance is of the red heifer. If not, you know what I'll do? I'll go ahead and try to link some videos about the red heifer in the bio down below. Description box down below, so you can click on them. Mando Gonzalez is a wonderful, wonderful resource about the red heifers. He has a book I'd like to get, kind of just compiling all the information about what's going on. So at any rate, I want to kind of jump into a few things today about that, and mainly has to do with the Temple Institute. So before we do, though, let's jump into a few things that did happen this week that I think are of very big significance, and I may talk about these more as information comes out and we kind of see things unfold. So the first thing is, everybody is not asleep to this, but the U.S. has essentially turned its back on Israel on Monday, and that is just like, I saw what was going on and I was like, wonderful, good times. Let's go ahead and let's make sure that Israel knows their biggest ally has now decided that we're not going to support them anymore. Now, you can say what you want to say about the Israeli government. I have my own thoughts about that, but the bottom line is that the Bible is very clear in Genesis, and I want to say it's Shoot, I would forget the verse when I'm filming. So I want to say it's Genesis 12:3, 15:3, something like that. But basically the verse is, and you know what? I'll just put it in the box down here when I go to edit. The verse basically states that those who bless Israel, I will bless, and those who curse Israel, I will curse. God is very clear that we are to support Israel. It doesn't matter how messed up the government is. It doesn't matter any of that, because we're not talking about the government. We're talking about the land that belongs to the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It is very clear. And I tell you what, you know, the amount of land that they should have based upon the boundary lines that God gave is huge. They've never occupied that. So I don't want to hear anymore about the Palestine's this. First of all, it's not even a thing. Like, go back to Hadrian and where that came from. It's not a thing. It's just not a thing. So it just shows, you know, there's a lot of people that don't understand their history. So anyway, all that to say, I can get off on a tangent. I won't try and keep this short today. But with that, we had a situation that the UN Security Council passed their resolution demanding the Gaza ceasefire, and the United States just decided that it would go ahead and side against Israel, which really puts an issue on the war effort. And of course, you guys, people can get into all of the conversations about this entire thing, but the bottom line is, when you really dive into who these terrorists are, because that's what they are, and what they're doing, it's amazing to me. And again, it just proves the Bible all the more, because the Bible says at the end of time that right before the Ezekiel 38 war, every nation is going to turn against Israel anyway, so it's not going to matter. But everyone is now making Israel out to be the bad guy whenever you can dive in to actually see, you know, Hamas and all of this and what they are. And they're like, they don't even function like human beings at all. In fact, I have some things I could say there, but I'll let it lie. So with that, the whole point of that headline is simply that America has turned its back on Israel. Yes, the Bible says that's going to happen, but it is still always a shocker to me when it does. And I personally hate it, because I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you. And we just are held accountable for that. Like, we have no control. I have no control of what our leaders up in Washington are doing, that, you know, they just do what they want, you know, they just do what they want. And so that's the hard part, is that we suffer those consequences. So I digress. I'll move on, because I could probably go on off a whole tangent on that and do a whole video on that. And that's not what today's video is about. The second thing that happened this week was the big old bridge crash with the Baltimore Bridge, or the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm not going to go too much into this. I've been watching reports on it all week, and the majority of this video is about the Red Heifer, which we haven't even gotten to yet. But every time I see something like this happen, this is the place that I'm in now. That's suspicious. Wonder if that was intentional. It's sad that my mind goes there, but with everything that we've seen, with all the truth that we have seen come out in the last 4 years, I know that so much of this stuff does happen intentionally. Now, I have seen reports on both sides, or people say, oh, no, it wasn't. Oh, yes, it was. I don't know if we're going to know the truth, at least for a while, if ever, but I'm probably going to go ahead and lean on the side that it was intentional. It's going to affect the supply chain. It's already doing those types of things. And I think that is intentional, based upon things that are coming down the pike to make life a lot harder for us in the Western world, specifically America. They're trying to tear us down from within. It shouldn't surprise you if they do stuff like this, especially if you look at events like 9/11 and you know truth around those things. None of this stuff surprises me anymore. And so anytime something like this happens, my entire thought process is always, wonder why they did that. It's very rare to me that I would think anything would be some accident anymore. So that was the other big thing. So now let's jump into the Red Heifers. So this is what got me this week. It was a very interesting week. Oh, you guys finally get to see one of my kitty cats. That's Nora. Anyway, so I was looking at the Temple Institute. I follow the Temple Institute on Facebook. I just found out they had a Telegram. I didn't know that. I have a Telegram, not one that I'm active on. It's simply just to keep up with news. But at any rate, the thing that got me this week, and it happened to just flow up on my Facebook page, which never really happens because Facebook pretty much censors everything that I have, and I don't see things that I want to see. But at any rate, I had seen some information on the Red Heifer this week, and they are discussing the Red Heifers a lot. In fact, the big article that got me, let me pull up my link. Okay. So they were holding a conference this week on the preparation for the Red Heifer ritual. Now, the reason why I find this interesting, do they probably talk about the Red Heifers every year? Yeah, I bet they do. I can't say that I remember this stuff from last year, but things are very different now because we have red heifers and it's been 2,000 years since we've had them. Not to mention the next sacrifice is going to be the 10th red heifer sacrifice. I believe I read somewhere that, and I can't remember the site or source, but that something about the 10th sacrifice, first of all the ashes from the previous 9 they still have. So when they do this, they'll combine them together. But there's something about the 10th sacrifice that has to do with the Messiah, ushering in the Messiah. Now we know that the Messiah that they're waiting on is none other than the Antichrist, which is crazy. It saddens me. Please pray for the Jewish people. The tribulation is so clear what happens to 2/3 of them. But I heard a Jewish ministry, a Messianic Jewish ministry say one time, yes, 2/3 of the Jews are destroyed during the tribulation. But what you can pray for is that many of them come to know Jesus Christ, because if that number, again, this is just simple math, but if you have, 100 people and then 25 of them get saved, well, now there's 75 that are not saved. So 2/3 of 75 is a lot less than 2/3 of 100. So be praying for your Jewish brothers and sisters who don't know the Lord, and pray that God gives you an opportunity. And don't be afraid to witness to them. Don't be. The Holy Spirit will prep you on what to say. But at any rate, so Israel's holding a conference this week, and I believe they did it Wednesday. So it said this article was updated on Wednesday. So what I couldn't make heads or tails of was, are they having this conference this past Wednesday, or are they doing it this coming Wednesday, which would be April 3rd? I can't make heads or tails of that, but let me read you a couple blips from this. This is from the Jordan News. And this is out of Tel Aviv. So the Temple Institute is scheduled to hold a conference on Wednesday to discuss the religious preparations for performing the ritual of sacrificing the red heifer. This ritual aims to purify from the impurity of the dead, to surpass the prohibition imposed by the great rabbinate of Israel from entering the Al-Aqsa Mosque due to the lack of purity condition. This conference will be held in the Shiloh settlement north of Ramallah, hopefully I said that right, where the 5 cows, says 5, by the way, imported from Texas, are under special care and round-the-clock monitoring. I'm pretty sure there are only 4 right now that are that still have all of the requirements. And again, you can check the links below of the videos I'm going to include for the red heifers to kind of learn about that from just interviews recently. I think there are 4. There's been a lot of chatter about the video that came out from CBS a couple weeks ago, which was, by the way, so weird that the mainstream media was reporting this. But CBS had 3 red heifers, so some people were like proposing maybe the 4th one is, disqualified. Maybe it's already been sacrificed. I don't think so. If they're having meetings and stuff, I don't think it's done. So anyway, it's still interesting. We're not going to know anyway until a video comes out. So several rabbis are advocating for conducting the rituals will speak at the conference after the cows have reached the minimum legal age required for the purification process, which is 2 years and 2 months. This condition specifies that the cows must not be younger than this, but they can be older. Now, they came of age back in the fall. I feel like it was November that they came of age. So the whole point of all of this last year, and I've done a lot of live videos on this stuff, the whole point was that they were going to be ready by Passover of this year. As far as I know, there is still a lot of chatter and conversation around a Passover sacrifice. Now, speculating, again, this is conjecture. Based on the war effort that is going on over there, I don't believe that that's going to be a public event where the public can come in. Originally, that's what they were thinking about. That's what they were looking at. I don't foresee that. From what I understand from even some people who've just traveled to Israel for a ministry, it's like a ghost town or ghost country, however you would say that, over there because of all the things going on. So in saying that, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens, but I know Passover for them is coming up soon. I don't think I wrote down the date, so you'll have to forgive me. Let me see if it's in, it is in this article. It is worth mentioning that the date recorded in the sacred religious texts of these groups for the slaughter of the red heifer and the purification falls on April 10th, okay? That is, by the way, 2 days after the Great American Solar Eclipse that everybody is talking about right now. Next week's update, we will talk about that. There's so much stuff going on. I'm going to have my head buried in news this week, especially with news about CERN firing up their collider. We've got some rocket launches from NASA. We've got, oh my gosh, there's so many things going on next Monday and on. So we'll talk more about that. But the whole point that I want to make about this is simply this one. And if you follow me on social media, if you've seen any of the other videos, I mention this a lot. But there are a lot of people out there who do not believe that third temple is going to be built. At what point do you tell them that they're crazy? Because we're seeing all of this stuff come to pass. It doesn't matter that you don't believe that. The rabbis are working towards it. They got heifers, right? They got these heifers that they ain't had in 2,000 years. And all of a sudden, God has provided everything that needs to be there. And we know there has to be a temple because the Bible is so clear. 3.5 years into the tribulation, what is the Antichrist going to do? He's going to go declare himself as God in that temple. He's going to desecrate it. And hello, we don't have a temple right now. All of the artifacts are there for the temple. The Temple Institute has spent a fortune getting things ready. I heard on a podcast, Mano Gonzalez was on a really cool podcast a couple weeks ago. He even said that there's certain governments that, he can't say which, but that they have all the gold that would be needed for, I believe it was something to do with the temple construction. They're willing to provide the money for the gold or something to that degree. I wish I would have known I was going to think about saying that. I would have wrote it down so I could give you the exact piece of that. But anyway, all the videos I'll provide on the Red Heifer should give you all that stuff down in the bottom in the description box. The point is that it's an exciting time to be alive. I know it is a very uncertain time. It is a very scary time. A lot of us are facing adversity in our own personal lives, me included. If you guys, again, a lot of you guys know what's going on because you follow me on Instagram, but it is a very challenging time in my life right now. But at the same time, in the midst of all of this challenge, I'm looking around and there's a window out here. This is why I always point to it, but I'm looking outside my window and I'm just like, Lord, thank you for having me born and be this age at this time, because people can say what they want. I don't care that people think I'm a nut job. I believe I'm going to be the generation to see the Lord return. I do. I have said for years, I do not believe that I'm going to die. I believe I'm going to be raptured, and I'll stand by that until that were to happen. But I believe firmly that the Lord is getting ready to show up. He's getting ready to snatch his church out, harpazo, right? Harpoon them, get them out of here, and I'm in that, so that the final 7 years of this age can commence. And it is insane watching all of this stuff come to fruition. I can remember 2020. When all this stuff was, really starting to make headway, because I was diving in trying to figure out, make heads or tails of all the things that were going on. And I just remember thinking that the Lord was going to come back that year because stuff was so crazy. And now I kind of look back at that and chuckle like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you thought that. But, so if the Lord doesn't come back this year, I'll probably sit here in this very spot doing a weekly wrap up and tell you, I remember in 2024 when I thought that the Lord was going to come back that year. And now look at where we are. But here's what I will say. Both J.D. Farag, who I absolutely love and adore, J.D. Farag, and Billy Cron have both made similar statements. Something to the effect of, and I don't want to butcher it because I can't get their exact statements, obviously, but something to the effect of that we're getting so far backed in a corner prophetically that at some point it's going to have to happen because we got nowhere else to back into. We're being backed against the wall. So, guys, all I want to say is simply this. If you always got hair of cat hair or my hair falling out somewhere. If you are feeling the tug on your heart and you don't know Jesus, can I just say to you, there is no better time than the present to figure out if this stuff is real. And what I would say to you is that if you're thinking it's not real, I want to challenge that thinking to just getting in the Bible and looking through Revelation. You will see that things are setting up for a one world government, a one world currency. In fact, there was something else that came out in the news this week about digital currency, and I can't remember what I saw that was. This is why it's so hard, by the way, to get videos for you, because there's so much stuff that's just happening all the time. I feel like I've got notes everywhere about news stories, but at any rate, one world currency, one world government, one world religion. It's all happening. It's all being set up. Now, it may not come out the traditional way in the sense of like, I think that, the evil side of this, everybody is pushing very hard against, but I do believe it's coming. And we may see the Hegelian dialectic, which I've talked about on my Patreon, the antithesis and the synthesis and the thesis. We may see the light world order of this come about in a way that makes people feel good because it's not the dark way. So anyway, all that to say, be watching, pay attention, and if you aren't following, I think some of the great news places to follow are the Jerusalem Post, if you want to keep your eyes on Israel. And the reason I'm saying that is because there's an old saying in the prophecy world that when the minute hand is on Israel, like Israel's God's timepiece. So the minute hand is Israel, the hour hand is Israel, the minute hand is Jerusalem, and the second hand is the Temple Mount. When you see those things in the news, that's when you need to pay attention. Well, we're seeing all three of those in the news. All three. So it's a very interesting time. And I don't think that any of these people who believe that this stuff was like never going to happen, well, it's all over the news now. And it's even hitting the mainstream media news on some networks. And it's surprising to see them talking about that stuff. So all that to say, let's keep paying attention. I think the next couple of weeks would be really interesting to watch as we kind of go through next week with the eclipse and all that stuff. And I will make that video. Next week's weekly wrap up will be all about what we are anticipating. I actually live here in Missouri, so I'm actually right in line for the totality piece. So that'll be interesting. So I'll share a lot more with you guys on that, my thoughts, just kind of going back and forth with you guys on what I think on that regard and all the stuff that's coming after Monday. And of course, if we're still here, right, I will see you next Friday. And I just pray peace and joy over your life. Maranatha, I'll see you in the next one.